Hi there, this is Philamae here. This is my usual Friday evening, my Saturday morning tutorial. So I'm just going to wait for a few people to come. What I tend to do is that I tend to channel pieces, little tutorials that I would share with you. And who I'm channeling it from. Hi Joe, good to see you. Yeah. Who I'm channeling it from, it is my higher self who I embody, and then I write out the messages and then I read it out to you. Hey! So today, I'll wait for a few minutes for people to come, but today's topic is live the now, live the new, but don't live in Neverland. They gave me this topic probably a few days ago, but I didn't think about it. And then what I did was I went to sleep yesterday, woke up at about 12:30 this morning, wrote something. I can't remember what I wrote. Went back to sleep about 3:30 or so, and then here I am. I haven't seen it since I typed it out. When I write, I typed it out. Hi, Christopher. Good day to you. And so I'll be reading this out, and then hopefully at the end of this, I can get. You guys can ask some questions and then I can answer. My high self is called Phimo, for Phil's mojo, for want of a better word. And the I in front of it is me, because they use my lens to actually write the stories or the lessons that come out from them. So what I might do is I might get started, and then those who can join in will probably come in throughout, but the replay will happen as well. Okay, so are you guys ready for me to go? I think I'll just wave to Christopher. I'm just learning technology at the same time, you see. Okay, hi Anita, welcome. Okay, so I'm gonna begin the topic, and as I said, the topic is live the now, live the new, don't live in Neverland. Okay, the tutorial series. The tutorial continues our series of insights, tips, and tools on living your life more lightly and lightheartedly. They seem to want to focus on this topic through the series over the last few weeks. What does living more lightly mean? It means that the way you live your life is less negatively impacting on you, and is less negatively impacting on others around you, the animals, the plant lives, and Mother Earth. We incarnate to live lives with contrast for our soul's expansion. So the interesting thing is, we are needing to live more lightly and more lightheartedly, but we came incarnated for a lesson, and that lesson sometimes make it really hard for us to live more lightly, right? So a contrast is an experience that delivers the opposite of what you choose to experience as a setup for the experience itself. So if you wanted to learn patience here, your contrast setup is impatience. So it is a contrast for what you're here to feel into, right? What we're here to experience and feel into. The mirror opposite of a high vibrational experience is a contrast. And all of us do come in here with a soul plan to learn a lesson, and that lesson is in its contrast. It's not the most pleasant lesson. So the question is, how can we live that lesson more in a lifetime that we choose to live more lightly and lightheartedly? That is the trick question in our daily lives, right? So whilst we are here to live out a contrast, we can still live more consciously, so that the pain that comes with the contrast does not extend to suffering. So contrast in itself will generate some pain for which we need to feel into and experience, but our living more consciously, more lightly, and more lightheartedly will not extend it into suffering. When we live more consciously, we live more lightly, even in a contrast situation. So they're going to help us try to figure out how to actually live more lightly, although we are in contrast situations, right? You learn to either reduce or minimize the choices that cause you contrast, or you learn to feel into the pain the contrast generates and then learning to quickly let the pain consciousness flow through you. So this is really interesting. So if you have a contrast, and we know in our soul plan we're here to learn a lesson, right? We either try to, whilst living that contrast, minimize and reduce the discomfort, or if it's a repeating pattern, which is that key lesson we're here to feel into, then get yourself to feel into that and learn how to quickly let it flow through and walk away, okay? So there's certain contrasts that are key to our living this life here, incarnated for expansion. Those major, there's a major learning, and that learning needs to be experienced, felt through, and risen up to, okay? Living your life more lightheartedly means you have, so they talked about lightly, living it lightly. Living your life more lightheartedly means you have chosen to fill your heart with light in every breath you take, in every step you take. The more light you fill in your heart, the more light flows out from you. So they would like to say lightheartedly is your heart filling up with light, okay? You chose the lifeblood that comes in and out of your heart. They're using a metaphor for that. And that lifeblood is your light source. So the lifeblood that comes in and out is your life force, right? It's your higher self being embodied. The light source within you comes from your higher dimensional self, your fifth dimensional self as well. Yeah? So when we say live the now, we wish for you to live more lightly. When we say live the new, we wish for you to embody your higher dimensional self within you and live more light-heartedly. So let's start with living the now. Okay. We are multidimensional beings living various paradigms of reality. They're just saying they wanted me to talk about paradigms of reality in one of these tutorials in time. But know that we are multidimensional beings, and we put focus on a dimension in time and on our incarnated self in time. At this point, we're all focusing on our avatar in this third dimensional space, okay? So let me say that again. We are dimensional beings living various paradigms of reality. Living in the third dimensional holographic illusion is one dimension that you have put your focus on. Your avatar, so they're saying in this case, the person physically writing this is Philamae. So Philamae is the avatar, is living her now life in the third dimension. This avatar life is where her focus has landed on. Her focus is lived within the context of labels. So she is a mother, she is a consultant, she's a daughter, she's a sister, she's a wife. All these are labels put on you, and you get socialized into these labels. She wanted us to write awesome in front of each. But we love bursting her ego bubbles. So I didn't get my way on this one. Anyway, so all these are labels that we have, right? Because third dimensional living is a context that is fraught with contrast situations set up by duality as a mechanism, the setups encourage you to continually take your focus away from what is literally before you. So we're here. It's almost like landmines, right? We have this learning that we said, okay, we want to learn it, right? We've got players that we've agreed, which is usually our soulmates, to come down to set up these contrasts for us to live through and live up to. These contrast situations, right, create worry, or if it has been a repeating pattern, it creates a memory of what has happened before. So you have regrets that you haven't lived and risen to the minefields of the past. So what happens is your mind stays in the past going, oh God, this is happening again to me. Why can't I get away from this? And so your mind goes into the past, or your mind goes, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Look at what the situation. So the duality set up as a mechanism for this lifetime to live a contrast actually keeps our focus away from the now. So they want us to be clear that contrast does keep our focus away from the now. This is how the mechanism works, but we do not have to follow We need to live consciously to not be taken out of the now. So the setup encourages you to continually take your focus from what is literally before you. And what is literally before you is magical, right? But you have lost your focus on it. Living in the now is bringing your focus back. Is bringing your focus back to the magical, the sensory, right? And parking the worries or parking the regrets. Yeah. A lot of the worries don't end up as, we worry about something happening. A lot of it doesn't, we worry sometimes in even one scenario, we worry about many different things. And a lot of those things don't eventualize, or is that the word? It doesn't happen, yeah? So we wish for you to be more conscious, living in the now, because you cannot live more lightly. This is lesson. You cannot live more lightly if you're living in the past or in the future. Okay? Living in the past or living in the future is living in the space we call Neverland. More on that later. There are much written or spoken about living more consciously, living more in the now. We encourage you to explore practices that you resonate with and do that regularly. When you find them, enjoy them. Don't make, because there's magic around us. Living consciously is to actually observe the magic, feel the magic, enjoy the magic, right? Don't make that work for you. The minute you find a practice and you're practicing it and it becomes dogma, it becomes, oh, I've got to do this at X time, I've got to do this, I've got to finish this. It becomes something that isn't joyful again. So find another practice that can get you to that joyfulness of being in the moment. Play with them and discover which one adds to your life rather than which ones take away from your life. So there are practices out there for being more conscious. Be selective. Which one takes, if a practice takes away from your life, it isn't keeping you in high vibration, right? It isn't keeping you in the now, right? If you have to worry about practice and say, oh my God, tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, I've got to do this and I've got to do this at 5 o'clock. It's taking you away from the now. So living in the now is really important because it creates you living more lightly, but don't create a more complex life around you by trying to live in the now, is what they're trying to say. The irony of it, isn't it? So here are some things you may choose to play with. Let's start with, and I think this is an interesting one because it taps into what Gillian was doing, breath work and your surrounds. Let's do it together, okay? So here we go. They say, take a deep breath in, let the breath out. Now, call out 5 things around you that you see and use descriptors. So I see a round light here. I see windows that bring light in. I see an interesting mosaic floor. I see beautiful cushions around me, right? So make sure that when you're actually calling out the 5 things, I have 4, and I see Stephen, lovely Stephen, listening in to me. So use descriptors, right? And after you call out the 5 things that you see, smile and say lovely, okay? Say lovely, or say lovely after each one. Then take a deep breath in, let the breath out. Now feel the textures of 4 things around you and use descriptors, okay? And they say smile and say lovely with each one. So I feel this beautiful woolen shawl is soft and gushy. That's lovely, isn't it? Oh, I feel another little blanket and it's bumpy. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. I feel this long hair. It's nice and long and straight. Lovely. I feel this heart case. This heart case that can open and close. I can even hear something. Isn't that lovely? Right? So I've got 4 things, and after each one, smile and say lovely, right? The next one, take a deep breath in Let the breath out. Now listen to 3 things that you hear around you. And with each one, smile and say lovely. So I just heard some birds. They're out there. Isn't that lovely? I can hear the traffic, the morning Saturday traffic out there. Isn't that lovely? Yeah. I can hear the rustling of the leaves. Isn't that lovely? So don't forget to add descriptors that can enliven you, and then smile and say lovely. Take a deep breath in. Let the breath out. Now smell 2 things that are around you. Use descriptors and smile and say lovely. So I've got this chakra spray. Ooh. It smells like I can't describe the smell, but it's beautiful. I can describe it in my head, and that's lovely. And then I can smell my sleeve. Ooh. Okay, that's been worn once. It isn't stinky, but it smells like me. Isn't that lovely? Right? So smile and say how lovely it is. So take a deep breath in. Now, taste one thing that is around you and use a descriptor and say smile and say lovely. So I'm going to taste my fingers because I just picked pistachio and I can taste the pistachio. Isn't that lovely? I love it. Yum. So then take the last deep breath in and then breathe out. Smile and say thank you, everything around you, for being. So in this way, you just have grounded yourself in the now, and then you are actually experiencing life in the now and more consciously. So I hope that helps. It's a really easy exercise to slow down your thoughts and to experience what's around you and not let your thoughts take over the day or take over the moment. So this exercise helps you anchor into your surrounds. How beautiful when you can sense your surrounds more deeply. How beautiful it is when you can drink it all in. Try doing this wherever you are, in nature, at work, even if you actually aren't enlivened at work. When you start doing this at work, you will start appreciating all that's around you, right? When you want to stop the momentum of a contrast that is happening to you. So when something is going wrong, remember, you want to keep in a place, in the presence. You want to make that feel lighter. The quickest way is to live in the now because you lighten up that situation. Here's what you don't get in your day-to-day. All that surrounds you in your 3rd density life is physical, and life is physical and it gives you experiences. When you return to your etheric consciousness, there is no physical body and no physical experiences. There are no physical hugs to enjoy. There is the merger of energy beings, right? But there's no physical hugs. There's no physical grass to run your fingers through. No perfumes to remind you of loved ones. No chocolate, no ice cream. And they go, yep, folks, no chocolate, no ice cream, right? Your focus into a physical form is to relish all of that. So every time, even when you live in the now and start appreciating it, right, you're actually banking in memories that you can later in an etheric life go back and enjoy. Enjoy as in to resense it, right? Relive it. So the whole thing is, whether in contrast or whether in enjoyment, you're actually banking in memories. It's quite funny, when I was in a contrast and it was really tough and I was already awakened and I knew the contrast was for my learning, and as I'm gritting my teeth, living through a contrast, I will shout out to the universe, I'm banking this one in! I'm banking this one in! And the thing is, when you make something funny, right, you actually lighten up your experience of it. Okay? So everything that we live through in this lifetime, whether it's a contrast for our learning and our expansion, or whether it's something enjoyable, or whether you're experiencing people who are causing your contrast, what they're called catalyzers, at the soul realm, you've asked them to come in. If you can keep your mind there, then your ability to live more lightly can happen. Okay? So when we say wake up and smell the roses, it's not metaphorical. We mean it literally. And we mean it now. Go out and smell the roses now. Enjoy that and bank it in. Let's talk about feeling into the now when in a contrast situation, because it's actually really difficult when you're in a contrast situation. You came into this physical existence to feel into the contrast in your lived physical life. It is for our soul's expansion. If you know that that is what you came here for, wouldn't you relish it a little bit more? Okay, maybe relish is not the word they say, but wouldn't you appreciate the role it has in your life? If you change the labels, and there was already a video on changing the labels, right? If you change the labels around the contrast from this that I am suffering to this I am experiencing for my soul's growth, changing that label, you take the winds out of the sail, out of that sail. The idea, this that I am suffering, that phrase, this that I am suffering, encourages a victim mentality to take hold. The other statement makes you an observer, right? And it empowers you to respond differently. Yeah. When you change the labels, you release the grasp the contrast has on you, and you literally stop the momentum it has, right? So they're saying that when you live the now, when you live more lightly, when you have an observer's mindset, right, it will release the grasp that contrast has of you. And they want to give you they want to talk about breath work done with your contrast consciousness, right? So when you are in your contrast, say, I'm going to do breath works with my contrast consciousness, because your contrast is a consciousness to be lived. I'm going to do it to feel into it, to live into it more lightly, and then release it. So they say, how do we do that? So you go through the same process of taking a deep breath in and letting the deep breath out. But this time, in your contrast situation, right, you'll look at your contrast but deconstruct it into little pieces, right? And then pick a piece to then feel into it. And then, so take a deep breath in, take a deep breath out. Think about what's happening that's not feeling good for you. Look at only a piece of that. And then you breathe in and out into that and smile and say, how curious, but of course. And I'll explain why, how curious, but of course. Repeat this over and over again by observing deconstructed pieces of your contrast, and then smiling and saying to yourself, how curious, but of course, right? What you're doing is firstly creating a distance from it by looking at it as an observer of your life rather than a victim of that contrast. Because the minute you say, how curious, you are now stepping into your observer space, right? When you say, but of course, you are acknowledging the setup of your play in action. You're taking back the reign of control, saying, I'm not going to be a big victim here. I know this is the setup for my learning. So I love this. I love the way they say, say how curious, because you create distance and you become an observer. And then you look at that piece and go, but of course, because that was the setup. I get it. I can see it. I can see why that is in action. So let's take as an example a narcissistic bullying boss, right? Let's look at the example. His focus as a setup, his focus is to disempower you in every aspect of your relationship, of his relationship with you in the context of your work. At a soul level, You have asked for this contrast so that you can step up to it, and his soul has kindly taken on that role to help you out, right? So, okay, so you're in the situation and then things happen at work. So they're saying, you take a deep breath in, and then you let your breath out. Okay, then you say, he looked at me menacingly. Then you smile, and you say, how curious. But of course, you know he needs to wear that mask. So his looking at you menacingly is he's playing that role. He needed to wear that mask. So your how curious and but of course would get you there. Maybe then another situation happens. You take a deep breath in, and then you let the breath out, right? And then this is the situation. He took my report and put red slashes on them. Then you think of that element of that contrast, and you smile inside and say, how curious. And then you say, ooh, but of course, because you know, right, he needs to create his superiority over you, right? That is your observation by your soul. Take a deep breath in and let the breath out. And then you go, my boss, he pulled me up today in front of others. He embarrassed me. And you smile inside and say, how curious, but of course, he's creating another setup for you to experience, and he's rounding up the actors. Can you see where this is going? You are taking the wind out of the sail. You are making yourself an observer rather than a victim. You're understanding their role in this play that you've created, right? Another one, he physically dragged me to his office. Smile inside and say, how curious, but of course, because he's lost control. He can't control you. If you can actually control and take the reins in the situation, he will get mad and he's lost control. So they're saying, go through that process. But in this one, report him to human resources or the police. They're very firm on this, right? He says, we want you to be aware of why you are incarnated. That is to live into an experience and to live it more lightly. But you also need to set up boundaries that are firm, right? So that if a perpetrator or catalyzer oversteps the line and they're trying to, in their role, set up for your soul's learning, when that setup becomes abusive, you need to take action for your avatar's safety and then let it go. Okay? So once you do your action, let it go. But what I love about this is that sometimes we live in a contrast and it feels so difficult, right? What they're saying is to take the pieces apart. And as the pieces come in, you take breaths in and out, and then you go, how curious, because you want to create distance between you and them, you and that piece of contrast. And then you go, but of course, meaning I know why this is happening. And then the thought about why this is happening will slip into your head. And it gives you a lot of ease because this is a setup, remember, right? It helps you live that contrast more lightly. So you'll find when you breathe in and out on your contrast elements and smile and say how curious, but of course, in due time, your mind won't even need to explain each one away, okay? Breathing it out is then about letting it go, okay? So you'll come to a point where you're practicing where you don't even need to justify why that person is doing it. And your breathing out is actually to say, I'm letting it go. Isn't this a great a technique that we can use through our day-to-day? They continue, why did we advise you to deconstruct the elements within a contrast situation? Because when you do so, you are chunking it down and releasing, chunking it down and releasing. If you leave it as a whole horrid situation, you create a big black hole that will suck the life out of you. So in everything in life, to live more lightly, chunking it down and releasing lightens you, because when you chunk it down, you can control it more. You can address it more, right? When it's one big dark black hole, it's really hard to get yourself out of that. Okay. It's the same as the pizza exercise that I did, which I will repeat again in one of the tutorials. It was a question and answer. So in journeying through your life, there is equal measure of fear-based and love-based experiences. We would advise you to cherry pick through your life's experiences. Cherry picking the experiences you want and not want helps you to live your life more lightly, right? You don't have to suffer through every contrast experience that's around you or fight every fight that's thrown at you. Sometimes they're not even yours to live out. So, as an example, when someone toots the horn at you, say, it's not about me, it's about them. It's cool, drive on, right? When someone shouts out racial slurs, and this is bad because, I've had that a couple of times, say, it's not about me, it's about them. If you need to roll your physical eyes or roll your etheric eyes, do so if you must, but just walk away, right? When an adult child starts blaming you for their life's failure, this one's a hard one, right? To walk away. Say in your head, it is their contrast, right? If you feel you've not done anything and you've not been abusive and you did the best you can, say it's not about me, it's about them, but be compassionate about that. Listen. They need you to listen. So just listen in, but don't let that consciousness eat into you, okay? Another tip for living in the now and not suffering more than you need to when faced with a contrast is ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years' time? I used to tell people to say, will it matter in 1 year's time? Will it matter in 2 years' time? Will it matter in 5 years' time? They actually specifically picked up 5 years. In most cases, it won't matter in that context, right? In 5 years' time. So in most cases, 5 years time, in 5 years' time, it won't matter. So it shouldn't matter so much for you to hurt over and suffer over. And this is where they're teasing you. In 5 years' time, you'll be grappling with first contact, and here they're chuckling. And everything you thought was big and hairy becomes less significant in the scheme of things. And did we tell you about awesome technology that exists in the galactics? You get to have some of that too. And big and hairy issues can be zapped away, and they're laughing. Right? We jest with you, but we just want you to know that everything in life is relative. Okay. I hope everyone's cool with this tutorial. It continues because they talked about living it lightly, but they will talk about living it lightheartedly. So if everyone's still cool, give me a thumbs up. Thank you all for still being with me. Yeah. Hi everyone. Awesome. I'm getting the hearts. Okay, I'll continue. They say now we go to living in the new. So in the last half was living in the now. This is about living in the new. Okay. We would encourage you to spend a growing amount of time living in the new from living in the now. So get good at living the now and then start living in the new. Okay. Many have spoken about fifth dimensional life or about the new earth. The thing we want to remind you is that all of the dimensions that your multidimensional being is experiencing is happening in the now, and it is all within you. Okay, the life you are experiencing, this physical life, by that we mean the dimension you're putting your focus on, is a projection of your life in the third dimensional plane. So know that it's all within you, but they need to use the metaphor of fifth dimension and third dimension, and it's about the access within you into these frequencies. When you're living in the new, you are actually accessing the fourth and fifth dimensional paradigms of reality through your frequency. Although you are a physical being, although your physical being is anchored in the third. So our now focus is in the third, but when we do certain practices, we bing into the fourth. Our frequency bings into the fourth, and it bings into the fifth. Okay. You are embodying aspects of your higher dimensional self within your third density vehicle. Okay. So focusing on living in the new frequency is what Lightbearers have come here to anchor in. We came here with the job of anchoring in the fourth and and subsequently the fourth and fifth dimensional energies, right? By anchoring this frequency in, we begin to call in that paradigm of reality. So as way showers, as people who are light workers going forth first, we are anchoring fourth or fifth dimensional energies, right? And accessing it and anchoring into the now is so that we can bring it in. The more people who can access it and can anchor it will bring it in more, okay? So, okay, let me just read. So, I'm just trying to find out where I am. So when we say to you, live in the new, we are asking you to begin anchoring in higher frequencies within you. Philamae, when channeling us, anchors in her higher self, which is of a higher frequency, and her higher self brings in other frequencies of higher dimensions. So when you're channeling, you're already accessing the higher energies. You're already living in the new. So isn't that awesome? All of you are one step ahead doing this, right? So, but beyond channeling, there are other ways to anchor in the new frequencies. And you'll read a lot out there if you Google around, but here are some tips for you. Music. Music is a connector to the etheric realms, to the higher dimensional realms. You need to find the music that connects you to your soul. Philomae's connectors are soulful pieces played in minor keys. So she leans towards that, right? Expose yourself to different types of music, different pieces of music. Close your eyes when listening to them, right? If you begin to go into a slightly trance state, or in Philamae's case, her skin buzzes, that piece is your connector to higher energies and bringing in the higher energies into you, okay? Also, getting high on living in the new is driving long distance in country with your favorite pieces being played, or swaying or dancing with low lights on those high vibing pieces, or if you're a musician jamming to it. All these are ways of actually bringing in the new frequencies. Calling in your higher self, that's another way. Calling in your higher self in every situation. We have mentioned in another tutorial to ask yourself when faced in a situation, what would love do? It doesn't matter if you do it or you don't do it. The asking of this question, what would love do, calls on your higher self and asks for your higher self to be embodied. So again, you're bringing in the new frequencies when you ask yourself, what would love do? So when you see a difficult situation where your first response is to fight, right? Or flight, right? Ask yourself, what would love do? And your higher self will be embodied and you will get inspired thoughts on how to move forward, okay? Another way is imagining or visualizing what living in the new earth is like. Read about the new earth, It's a loving space, a community space, it's a space where we're very gentle to the earth and to other humans and to animals in that new space. So find out about it and start visualizing and imagining yourself in it. And whilst you are imagining the future as in now, do one small thing to get there, right? Do one small thing that you imagine in that dimension here and now. Some people have started growing their own organic fruit and vegetables. Some people have started connecting more and helping others who are more vulnerable, strangers. They do that. Some people have stopped gossiping. Some people have stopped reposting on low vibrational media stories. That's all living in the new dimension, living the new now. Make one small thing, do one small thing. When you do that, they say make one small thing, 2, and then 3. And you're starting to build in and bring in the new dimensions because you're bringing in new energies, which will then call in the new dimension. Okay. With no judgment or expectation about them, because this is key. When you actually do something and you have judgment or you have expectation, sometimes you get disappointed. So you're actually doing the opposite of. So do all these things, but with no judgment about it and with no expectation of it. And do the same for other people. Don't judge them. Don't have expectations about them. Yeah. Okay. They said, oh, wait, hang on. Many one small thing, when done together with others in the collective, will help us call in a paradigm of reality, the new earth. It will help us call in the paradigm of reality that we want. Analogistically, look, I typed this at 3 a.m. You need to have 1 foot grounded in the third dimension. You need to put, and you need to put that grounded, and then you need to put your other foot in the other dimension, the new earth or the new dimension. And what you need to do is you start dragging the foot that's in the other dimension in 1 step at a time, okay? So put 1 foot in this third dimension because we're anchored here, but as we're living and breathing and vibrating higher, and we're imagining the new earth, and we're doing 1 thing at a time, 2 things at a time that could, of the new earth, what you're doing is you're putting another foot into the 5th dimension or the new earth, and you're actually dragging it in till the 2 become 1, right? That's what we're here for, Lightworkers and Lightbearers. That's what we're here for, okay? So then that's another way of actually living in the new. Then they said, living in the new. They use a lot of metaphors, by the way. I think they're using my lens. So I think in metaphors must be, I think in storytelling. So they said, you have laser and X-ray 5D eyes, right? It is a metaphor, okay? We all have laser X-ray 5D eyes in this 3D realm. So we know theoretically, but we need to try to know it physically. We know that everyone is a light being in a zip-up suit, right? That suit can be light, that suit can be dark. So they said, everyone is a light being in a human zip-up suit. When living in the new, we can see the light within the person with our X-ray eyes. However, some suits are too dark, too heavy, and too thick, and our X-ray eyes can't work. So we use our laser eyes to burn holes into the suit so that we can see that light. Right? So when living in the new frequencies with your X-ray eyes and with your laser eyes, we then have no doubt that everyone, whether in a dark or light zip-up suit, has light within. It is incumbent on us to find it, right? Even if they don't show it, we know it, we need to find it, we need to connect with it. When we can see the light in others, we act differently. In the new earth or the new, living in the new, we are 5th dimensional light beings relating to each other harmoniously. Why not have that perspective now? So again, they're teaching us to live in the new now, right? They said, okay, here's another breath exercise, right? This time is about living in the new. So it's called breath work and your avatar. And they said, again, let's do it together. So take a deep breath in and let the breath out. And then touch somewhere from we're going to work from top to bottom. Touch your hair, right? Or your head. Smile and say, thank you for being. And then take a deep breath in. Let that breath out. Touch your eyebrows. Right? Touch your nose. Touch your cheeks. Touch your lips. And then you smile. And you say, thank you for being. Right? And then take another deep breath in. And let the breath out, right? And touch the length of your arm, right? And then you say, thank you for being, right? Take a deep breath in. Let go of the breath. Trace your fingers. I'm physically buzzing now, by the way. Right? Trace your fingers. Look at things lovingly, by the way. And then smile to yourself and say, thank you for being. And then you can touch the curves on you, right? Appreciate them and say, smile and say, thank you for being. And then touch the length of your legs, right? Down to your tippy toes, right? And say, thank you for being. Touch your little toes. Go around it. Taking deep breaths in and out, right? And then smile and say, thank you for being. And then I'll put your hands, 2 hands on your heart. Breathe into your heart and breathe out. And say, thank you for being. Right? So do that because they have a reason for why you're doing that. They said this exercise can only happen as your observer self, because you're actually talking to your avatar self. It is your higher self that is giving gratitude and love to your avatar self. When you begin to shift in your awareness by embodying your higher self, you live in a state of love. You are living in the new. You are anchoring the new frequencies into your now time. When we say your life is brief, and that there are many lives and many lessons to learn, and you hear this through many teachings, right? We feel it is so important to remind you to love this beautiful avatar that has chosen to walk this life with you, for you, right? How often do you look in the mirror as an observer and see your avatar looking at you? How often do you thank your avatar for being that warrior human being, living out contrast so that your soul can expand? We wish for you to do this every day, to appreciate the avatar that's living this life out for you to expand, living through contrast for you. The awakened humans reflect, right? They or you often go into the space of gratitude and humility and adoration for your higher selves. That is us on the other side. When in truth, we the higher selves are in the space of gratitude and adoration when we think of you. Do you realize that? Do you realize how big you are? Your avatar is. And we are so grateful. We want you to live a more balanced mentality when you think about us, rather than you here, we there. It's this. Together. Right? Living in the new frequency is a two-way relationship between your higher self and you. Living in the new frequency will bring in the perspective that your avatar is as important as your higher self, and both live in balanced unison, operating as one. Until you can love your avatar self equally and soulfully as you love us, you continue to live in the old frequency. Yeah. Okay, that's really powerful, right? Living in the new frequency is living more lightheartedly. The resonance of living lightheartedly is of love, of joy, of bliss, of play, of optimism, of fun, of laughter. That's what lightheartedly is, right? Living more lightheartedly. Of seeing the good in all things and all people. It truly means living life with a light-filled heart. Whilst love and joy and bliss are resonant states that can be elusive to the human's understanding of how to get there, right? Fun, laughter, and play are easier concepts to understand and achieve. From where we stand, we would say be playful as often as you can, as long as you can. Play it up again and again. Everyone knows what play is because everyone can access the idea of play, having been children before. So don't go for the hard concepts, go for the easy ones. Be playful because we've been children before and we know what play is. So what they want us to know about living in the now, do practices there. Living the new, start anchoring the new frequencies so that we can pull it in, right? But what they added on here is, if you really think about it, the new earth you like to label it as the new earth, it is really the now earth vibrationally. Everything happens in vibration before it gets manifest in physical. So the new earth that we talk about is actually the now earth vibrationally. We are just trying to get ourselves into that space. Okay, I'm almost done. One page left. So living in the now is living lightly and living in the new is living lightheartedly. Where is this Neverland that you don't want us to live in, you ask? As mentioned, Neverland is the place where your past and your future resides, right? The place that you harbor regrets, the place which generates worry for you. You can't live in Neverland and live in the now or in the new. This is really important. You can't live in the place of the past or the future and live in the now and live in the new that we're calling in. Neverland is where Captain Hook thrives, and Captain Hook, as we all know, is the stealer of joy, love, play and laughter in the moment. Yes, Neverland also stores beautiful memories of the past and hopes for success into the future, but those memories and success drivers carry attachments, right? Being attached to something has the potential to cause pain, especially when it's lost. We would say, be easy on yourself. Never is a really harsh word, so be easy on yourself. When your roving mind takes you to Neverland to revisit a past or to a future you may have attachments to, do it only for a short period of time. Under 60 seconds is a safe amount of time. The wheels of the manifesting machine does not start to crank up yet. So when you know you're thinking about the past or future, within 60 seconds, get out of that and start practicing your now exercises, okay? We hope today's tutorial on live the now, live the new, but don't live in Neverland helps you. It is really a simple reminder to live more consciously in your 3D anchored life. When you live more consciously, you bring more light into your life. Until we meet again, enjoy living your life more lightly and lightheartedly. And they said, see us, iPhimo. Okay, that's their tutorial for today. I'm just going to say hello to all the different people who've come in that I haven't waved to yet. So, hi Anita, I think I said hello to you. Anna, hi. Kate, hi, welcome. Norma, hello. Gillian, hi, thank you for coming. Laurie too. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you found that useful. Do you have any questions that you want me to answer? This was, I think, for those who came later, I wrote this. I went to sleep. The urge wasn't to write, and I woke up at 12:30. Stephen helped me get up, and then I wrote this till about 3:30, and I can't really remember what I write, so I hope this has been helpful for you guys. Does anybody want to come on? I'm going to put this up in YouTube, so if you come on, know that it will go on YouTube so that you can actually listen in time and time again. So if you still want to come on, I think a couple of you said bring me on. I'll start from the top. Just know that this will go to YouTube. So I think Joe was the first bring me on person. I'm not able to do that. I'm pressing the button, but it's not happening with Joe's one. I don't think. Wait, okay, I'm gonna practice. I'll see if I can press. Hi, Eric and Alex. I hope you caught most of the tutorial. It will be on replay. First, Kate, it was lovely hearing this all. I hope it is. It is almost a continuation. The tutorials they give are a connector. They just want us to have a more breezy life, right? And a lot of the way to get more breezy is how we think about it. So if you look at the topics that has come up through the last few weeks that I have uploaded on YouTube, please have a look at them. The lessons are quite simple. They're always wanting us to be easy on ourselves. They always give us some tips and tools to use so that we can live a breezier life. They're always reminding us not to create dogma out of the stuff we learn, because dogma takes away our freedom, right? So it's been lovely bringing these topics to you. Norma says, thank you, Philamae, very informative. I hope it is. I'm going to be rereading it again. Laurie, that was beautiful. Thank you for that. Alex, thank you, Philamae, always interesting, useful and lovely. Thanks, Alex. Eric says thank you. So I'm not getting any questions and I can't seem to bring people on, so I might do that in a separate spontaneous live. But if there are no questions, I'll say goodbye and have a nice evening. Cheers.